Or hit my vape.
Hey everyone. Hi everyone. This is Dee and Jessica. This is Spiritually Speaking on the Eternal Evolution of Self YouTube channel. We might be a little tongue-tied today. But anyway, Jess and I are here to just have a little chat about some spiritual stuff with y'all today. And we'll see where this organic conversation takes us today. Jess.
Hello. So we're going to talk about the 5 clairs. Let's talk about that.
All right.
So, okay. So we were talking about this a little earlier today, and kind of which of these clairs we experience. I suppose the first one we could say is clairvoyance, which is seeing kind of like pictures or movies in your mind. At least that's how I see a lot of things with my intuition and mediumship. So that's clairvoyance. How about you?
Yeah, so I
You
was when we were talking about this earlier, and we were talking about clairvoyance, I said that, a lot of people believe that clairvoyance is being able to see the future. And that's not exactly what clairvoyance is, right?
Correct. Well, I don't believe so. I mean, seeing the future, I think, are premonitions. But just the definitions that I've seen of clairvoyance, it's been kind of explained as you don't know how you know, but you just know. But it's usually for me, it's intuitive. And like I said, with the mediumship, I see pictures or like a movie playing through my mind. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah.
But I don't feel that it's the same as premonitions.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I did look it up. So I'm going to tell you this
Yeah.
website that I looked it up on says that it's the psychic ability of sight, which enables psychics and mediums to see the past, present, and predict future events using their mind's eye, the imagination. So it allows us to perceive flashes of color, images, symbols, and even short video clips telepathically, much like a daydream.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so
I don't experience that. I don't experience, premonitions. I think I have once, maybe twice in my life, but it would be pretty amazing too, if it
yeah,
were something good anyway.
you actually had one the other day that you told me about. We're not going to discuss it, but you did tell me that you had a premonition type experience when you were talking to somebody the other day. So that's always very
Yeah,
interesting. It's very
it
interesting
is.
when that happens because, the thing is, everyone, not everyone, but many people that go have a reading, they think that a psychic medium or an intuitive reader knows all of this stuff and that we always want to be right. And the fact of the
Mm-hmm.
matter is sometimes the things that come through, we don't want to be right about. I had, an experience
Yeah.
where a person that really helped guide me on the very beginning of my journey would not hold babies because he held a baby one time. And as soon as the baby was in his arms, he knew that that baby was going to die. And after that, and the baby actually did end up dying. And after that experience, he would not hold babies anymore, and it's not just the touching that allows that to come through, although it definitely can help make that a lot stronger. But why would you want to be right about that? You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's not always about
Yeah.
the being of the right. Sometimes it's just the information that comes in, whether we want it to or not. It really, truly sometimes. And we don't always want to be right about the things that come through, but those are the messages that we get. So, you know,
Yeah.
and then we have to decide how or if we're going to deliver those messages, because sometimes it's best for the person not to hear those messages that we actually get here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's like I said, I don't typically experience that. So um I don't think I maybe would recognize it until it were to happen, if you know what I mean, if something like that were to occur.
Right.
One of the other Claires, Claire audience, is it audience?
Clear hearing.
That's the one where you hear. That's the one.
Yes.
Yes, you hear spirit.
Yes.
Yep. When I have typically experienced this, I don't all the time, but I didn't realize what I was experiencing at the time. But for the longest, like forever, running water, I hear voices like it's like I'm in a room full of people talking, but I just kind of like pushed it to the back of my mind, didn't really pay much attention because it was just so common, but don't really pay attention to it anymore. But other than that, there were 2 times that I heard clear as day my oldest daughter, Mackenzie, say, "Hey, Mom." And another time it was here, like she was handing me something here. And she wasn't even at my house. So that was pretty wild.
Yeah.
um,
It's especially interesting when
but
it's
that's,
somebody who's living, whose voice you're hearing,
yeah,
because a lot of people think
yeah.
when you hear stuff like that, you only hear people who have crossed over, and that's not the case. Souls are
Mm-mm.
souls, and you can hear somebody and they can even present themselves to you if they're still living. Because I had,
Yeah. My
my
daughter's living. Yeah.
yeah, and my mentor in North Carolina did that. He came to me as a wolf. I was out in my backyard and I saw this wolf in my backyard, and it had the hugest head. And he had a very large
Wow.
head, like the biggest head I've ever seen on somebody. Like he had a ginormous head. But it was proportionate to the rest of his body. He was a very large man. He was like 6'5", 6'6", something like that. He was a very broad shouldered, big man. So it was proportionate to him, but just huge head and really, long, full beard. And so when I saw that wolf, I immediately knew who it was, even though he was still living. He was just popping into check.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting experience when that kind of thing happens.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
I hear spirit too. And, I want to just elaborate a little bit on the fact that you're in the shower with the water, because a lot of people
Mhm.
know this already, but some people may not, that water is a really great conductor for spirit.
Very much
So
so.
if you're
Mhm.
around water, especially if you're in nature, but running water especially is a really great conductor for you to be able to hear and experience spirit. And having said that, if you don't want to hear spirit while you're in the shower, because some people are like really hung up on that. I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
You can tell them, no, that's like a no-go situation. Like you don't,
Yeah.
unless it's an emergency, don't bother me when I'm in the bathroom, showering, using the toilet, whatever, so you
Yeah.
can set those boundaries.
But
But
at the time, I didn't realize that it was spirit. Like I really thought this stuff was just in my head, like my imagination or whatever. I really didn't give it a second thought
right.
until I realized I'm a medium and think everything came together for me. But anyway.
Yeah, yeah, and we talked about that before too, how, it's so nice that this is all coming out now and we're more open about it and we're more accepting of it, because like back in the day, you would just be like committed if you told somebody you were hearing voices while you were taking the shower, or taking a shower.
Yeah. What?
And so it's really cool that now we're really not crazy. We're just communicating with spirit. It's a normal thing for us mediums to do,
Mhm.
even when we're not in the shower.
Right. All right. So, okay, your turn. What you got?
Okay, so there's clairsentience, and that is the ability to sense through emotion. Um, it says it provides the foundation needed to become a good medium. And it's just so weird how I'm gonna hang on just a second. I'm gonna see if there's a better way here. The intuitive ability of clear feeling. So to me, that's like what we would refer to as vibes, so
Hmm.
like I remember specifically when I was living in North Carolina, I had this trail that I would walk on all the time that went by a river. And I walked on that thing
Mhm.
so much. Like it was really close to my house. So I would go there a lot after I got off work or on my days off and stuff, because it was very close and it was beautiful. And one day I was walking down the trail, and the trail took a bend, and I got to the front of the bend, and I had this really, really bad feeling that something was wrong. And not only did I feel that, I smelled this really horrible smell. And I can only describe it
Oh,
as the smell of death. That's what it reminded me of. Not a dead body. That's not what I mean. But like you would think,
oh,
if you thought about something bad happening and somebody dying, and it would have a smell related to that, that's what it smelled like to me. And so I didn't even question it. I just turned myself and my dog around, and I went right back to my car and I left, because I have no idea what was around that bend, but I knew whatever it was that day was not for me to be there. So I just followed that feeling and took
yeah,
myself right back to
I
my
would
car
have
and
too.
left. Yeah, it was
I
pretty
would have
wild.
too.
So I had two of those
Yeah.
clairs going on at the same time there, and that's very common, for a lot of us, is to have
Yes.
one or more of those happening at the same time.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Um, how many have we said so far?
three.
Just three, four,
Hmm.
three. Have we said claircognizant?
No, we haven't said that one.
Claircognizant. Um, I think it's just, you don't know how you know, but you know.
Yeah,
I just know.
you just know.
I
You,
can't tell you how I know, but I just know. I suppose that's really kind of our intuition.
yeah,
I mean, it was some, we don't know how, we just know.
yeah, we do. And it's so funny because when I was first really starting to explore this, my intuition was opening up, and I just knew a lot of stuff
Mhm.
very frequently. And my youngest son would ask me, "Mom, how do you
Yeah.
know that? How did you know that?" And I'm like, "I just knew, Zach. I just knew." And
Hmm.
after a while, he finally said, "How do you know that?" Never mind. I know, you just know. Like you just kind of realize after a while, you just don't question it, because the things that
Yeah.
you learn to trust because you find out they're true. You just realize
Yep.
that was actually the way it is. So it's very
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah. And it's not like we have, I mean, we say we just know. It's not like we have this, huge category of knowledge where we just know that. No, it is a feeling. It is you just know it's a feeling. It's not, like I said, something you have stored up here as in something you've read or
Right.
learned. It's all about feeling.
It is. It very much is. And that's one of the things that we really have to understand in any kind of intuitive mediumship, psychic situation, is that you go a lot on feelings, and I tell people that
Hmm.
all the time,
Yeah.
because and it's even with dreams, like you think about how did you feel when it happened, because a lot of people are very afraid of shadows, like not like literal shadows, like you're casting a shadow, but if they
Right.
see a spirit that's in shadow form, like they tend to think that that's a dark energy, it's bad, so they're very fearful. And I always say, stop and think about how you felt when you saw it. Did you
Hmm.
feel afraid? Did you feel like there was some kind of impending doom or any kind of thing like that? Well, no, I didn't get any bad feelings. Well, then it wasn't a bad spirit. It wasn't, there was nothing
Right.
there for you to be afraid of, just because it shows up as a
Mhm.
shadow, and some spirits, that's how they present themselves. Sometimes it's our perception of how they present themselves, because when you have fear around those things, you're like putting a screen up in front of your eyes. Because I remember that, for instance, and I know I'm kind of interrupting myself here a little bit, but I remember very clearly when I was in North Carolina and I was leaving work to go home, and I told you this
Mhm.
story later. I felt, and I was by myself driving down the interstate, and I felt this presence in the car with me. And I turned my head and
Mhm.
I looked, and there was a Native American woman sitting in the passenger seat of my car, just looking out the windshield, just riding with me. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
wow. And I turned my head back, looked out the windshield again. And then I looked back over again. And as I looked back over the second time, she turned and she looked at me and she smiled at me. And I was like, wow.
Mhm.
And I looked back out the windshield again and I turned my head to see if she was still there. And then she was gone. And when I told you that story, you were like, girl, I would have drove that car right off the damn road. But it
Yes,
didn't.
because I was afraid then. I was scared to see them.
Right.
So, you know.
But that's what I'm saying though. So spirit kind of knows who they can get by with that kind of stuff with. So
Mhm.
they're not going to show up to somebody and give them an actual literal heart attack by presenting themselves in like somebody's just sitting in the car next to you when you know you got in that car by yourself, and you're driving down the interstate.
Yeah.
So, so a lot of
Mhm.
times it's they're protecting us from having some sort of really traumatic reaction to seeing them. So they kind of present themselves a little bit differently. And it's our perception of how they show up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I haven't, I said in I think it was our first recording that I typically I don't see them, I feel them, I sense them. I've only seen them maybe a handful of times, but I'm not afraid anymore. I'm like, yeah,
right,
cool, let me see it.
right.
But I still, mostly I still just sense them for now. Hopefully they'll manifest
Yeah, that would be
more for me
cool.
visually in the future. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you just be open to it, and the more open
Yeah,
you are
I
and the more
am. Yeah.
connected you are is, that's all
Yeah.
and I say that, but I've been seeing them for so long that it's just,
Mhm.
I don't ever remember not being open to it. You know what I mean? Like I know there were, outside influences in my life that I didn't talk about it with most people
Mhm.
because it was very taboo since I was raised Pentecostal. I mean,
Right.
that would send you straight to the depths of hell. You know what I mean? And for all y'all that are
Yeah.
thinking that that's the truth, here I am sitting here in front of you right now, not burning up as a ball of fiery brimstone. So,
Nope, not today.
not ever, not ever. So, okay, what's next? Which one?
I think we have the fifth one. Which ones have we said? We've got
We did clairvoyance,
clairvoyance,
clair, did we do
clairaudience.
clairsentience? That's the clear feeling. We talked about that.
Mhm. Yep. And cognizant. So what's left?
So there's probably the weirdest one is clairgustance, which is
Oh,
the ability to taste things, which is pretty
I
bizarre.
can't say I've experienced that. I've not experienced that.
Yeah, I have. And the weird thing is with me, it's mostly onion. It's mostly like a raw onion flavor. I just recently figured out that the raw onion smell, because I was smelling raw onions, and mainly when I was like in the bathroom, in the shower, specifically the first time I smelled it, I was actually putting the towel on my head, and when I took it off, I was like wiping my face, and I was like, my towel. And I even had Steve. So I'm like, Steve, come here and smell this towel. Does it smell like onion to you? And he's like, no. And I put it to my face again. He goes, it's gone, isn't it? And I'm like, yeah, it was gone.
Ah,
But I recently just figured out it's my grandma, my mom's mom, that's associated with
ah,
the smell of raw onion. Because one of the most vivid memories I have of her is where we were at her house, her apartment when we were kids, and my brother and I were in the living room, and her and my mom and dad were in the kitchen. I don't remember if my dad was there. He might not have been, but I know her and my mom were in the kitchen. And my grandma walked through and asked if she could have a bite of my watermelon. Well, I grew up in the South, so we eat salt on our watermelon. And
yeah,
she
I do
asked me
too.
for she asked me for a bite, and I gave her a bite, and she just like that. And she's like, oh, you have salt on it. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, like, why wouldn't you have salt on your watermelon? But she didn't like salt on her watermelon. So a little while later, I went into the kitchen to put my stuff away. And she's standing in the kitchen with this big, huge slice of onion, like that thick. It's raw onion, and she's putting salt on it. And then she takes a big old bite of it. And I'm like, you won't eat salt on your watermelon, but you'll put salt on a
Oh
big old
my
slice
gosh.
of raw onion. And that's one of the most vivid memories I have of her. So I think that's why
I
she got
bet.
me associated with that smell, which is really weird because you wouldn't think of a grandma, presenting with that
Yeah.
onion,
Oh my gosh.
but she
A
did.
raw, I mean, I like onion. I like cooked onions. I like raw onion, like in salads or
Yeah,
on my
on a
burger or
hamburger.
something. But just to eat a raw, oh no, I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah, she did.
Wow.
That was really strange. But yeah, that was clairgustance, the ability to taste things. And sometimes I'll taste things when I'm meditating. Like I have tasted things when I was meditating before. And I did an energy healing on a friend of mine one time years ago, and she told me that she tasted what she described as purple flowers. That's how she described it, which I thought was really
Ah,
interesting. Yeah.
that is.
So that's a thing, y'all. If y'all didn't realize that and you have really strange smells, you might be actually having a spiritual encounter at that point.
Yes. All right. There's the five clairs.
Well, we have clear
What
aliens.
else? Oh, what's that one?
That one is
I know we talked about.
the ability to smell things.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I always get that one mixed up. Okay. The ability to smell. I've at times like maybe you'll smell smoke like we were talking about earlier.
Yes, cigarette smoke is a very common
Or
one.
maybe a perfume or a cologne. Um really anything that would remind you of somebody.
Raw onion.
Or sulfur. Yeah. I have smelled sulfur at times, and that can't be explained when I don't even, if you don't have gas in your house. It's like,
Well, now
ooh, what is that?
to just go a little bit different direction. If you read up on extraterrestrials, a lot of them are associated with the smell of sulfur. So,
Really?
yes.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay. I will keep that in mind. Been a long time since I've smelled it, but okay.
Yeah. And sometimes if you smell a really sweet smell, it can be associated with angels. Like a sweet
Okay.
floral smell can be associated with angels being around you. So that's a really common one too that people smell. So if you
Okay.
smell that sweetness, just tell the angel
Yeah.
thank you for the visit. And that's another thing too. Like when you're experiencing spirit, we should always be thanking spirit for the visit, thanking spirit for coming in clearly and stuff like that, because then, we're likely to get more cooperation when we want to have another experience or a deeper experience. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then there's
Your hair
Claire
looks cute
tangents.
today, Myra.
Do what?
I said your hair looks cute. I like your
Oh,
little
does
bun.
it? Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
I thought it looked like I had a helmet on, but anyway, thank you.
No, sorry. I just noticed. Anyway, sorry.
No worries, you're fine. And clairtangency was the last one we were going to talk about, and that's the sense of clear touch. So
Mhm.
if you are the type of medium who wants to or needs to hold on to like a piece of jewelry of someone who crossed over, or a picture, or some other piece of clothing, or a hat or something like that that belongs to someone who has crossed over, sometimes that can help you connect better with that person.
Mhm.
So
Do you think that it goes the other way as well, to where maybe you feel spirit touch you? You think that would go under that as well, maybe?
I mean, I would think it would. I think we get too like logical. I hear myself saying that all the time after
Oh,
spending
here we
some
go.
time with
Yep.
Stephen Harefield. Don't apply logic to it. Stop that. Don't do that.
Oh, okay.
But yes, so I just had an experience with my mom, for instance, since we're going to talk about spirit touching us. I had my mom come to me, just this has just been within the last week. And I was sitting down in some way when she came to me, and she was like standing above me, and she came to me and she kissed me on my forehead. And she told me she was proud of me.
Oh. Yes.
And of course I started crying because that's me and that's what I
Of
do.
course.
And a little
Absolutely.
backstory to that is my
That's
parents crossed over
awesome.
without me having their approval. So for my mom to come to me in spirit, and they were Pentecostal, so
Yes.
this was not okay with them. But knowing
Yeah.
now that I do this and I'm embracing this, and this is going to be a way of life for me, and for her to come to me and tell me she was proud of me was super impactful.
Yeah.
And she kissed
How
me,
amazing.
and
How awesome.
I know it's amazing. And I started crying, and as I started crying, she leaned down and she put her arms around me and she started hugging me. She pulled my head into her chest, and when she did that, I could feel her. I could feel my face on her chest.
Oh my God.
That was
Oh, how
amazing.
beautiful. Oh, how awesome.
Yeah, that
I'm so
was
glad you got to experience that.
yeah, that was amazing. That was amazing.
Mm.
Yeah. That was a gift. That was such a gift. And then it was just a few
Oh
days
my
later
gosh,
when my grandma
absolutely.
came and talked to me. So that was really cool. That wasn't a coincidence. I don't believe in those anyway, but that wasn't a coincidence that my
Right.
grandma showed up not long after my mom did.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
I'm glad you got to experience that.
too. I feel very
Uh,
grateful.
what was it? We were talking about subjects earlier. There was something else that you had wanted. You asked, do you want to talk about? I can't remember what it
Relationships.
was.
Relationships.
Relationships. Yes,
Yes.
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 All
Use
kinds of.
yeah, all kinds of them. Business relationships, friendships, you know, whatever kind of relationships. We're not just talking about romantic relationships here, but using your intuition to allow you to be guided as to whether or not to pursue one, to avoid one altogether, to get out of one, to, whatever, just listen to your intuition. And what I
Yeah.
have found is you'll get and you have to pay attention, because I always say people are super good. Some people are really, really good at cloaking themselves, where you don't realize that they're the type of person that they are. My Steve always likes to say, give them enough time and they'll show their true colors, and they will.
Yeah.
But having said
Yep.
that, sometimes they'll give you a little sneak peek, because you'll catch them off guard at some point and you'll see it. And then when they realize, they put that shield right up again, and you'll think that you imagined it, and you'll start talking yourself out of the fact that you actually saw it. And
Hmm.
you'll give yourself all these reasons that they should still be your friend. I had this happen to me with a girl, and she actually ended up stealing from me. It was,
Oh,
it was not a good situation, but if I had just paid attention, because the first time I saw her, I was like, ooh, I got this bad feeling. But then she started talking to me, and I realized we had all these things in common. And I think this is really the direction I wanted to go with this conversation, is because just because you have something in common with somebody,
hmm.
doesn't mean that you are supposed to be in any kind of relationship with,
Right.
because
Absolutely.
and they may be a nice person, but that doesn't mean that they're your person. And if you don't pay attention to that, at some point during that relationship, there's going to be some heartache, and it,
Hmm.
it can manifest in many different ways. And you just have to be mindful. And even more recently, I had a situation where this girl, and my soul knew more than I allowed my human self to know, because the human factor can be an absolute beast sometimes, because we use our logical minds.
Oh,
And if I wasn't using my logical mind, I would have just seen straight through all BS. But I thought I made her into this thing that I thought she was. I wanted her to be, and she was not that. She was not that. And I
right.
specifically recall on two separate occasions, she opened the door for me to share with her some deeper stuff about myself. And she's like, you're more than welcome to, share that with me if you want to, and I just didn't say anything. She goes, or if you don't, you can whenever you want to or whatever. And I didn't. On two
Mhm.
separate occasions, I just did not walk through that door that she had just opened. And I wasn't sure why I didn't, but I just knew I wasn't supposed to. And then later on, I realized that's why,
Yeah.
because the things that I did say, that were not even that depth were misconstrued, thrown back in my face with some venom attached and all of the things, so, you've got to really pay attention. And, I kind of
Yeah.
likened it to like pot smokers, like I don't smoke pot, but I'm not against it. I am a full proponent of it. My body can't handle that kind of shit. So I don't do it. But I've been around people in my past who would like be fast friends with somebody, and these were just like some like shady people, you could just tell, and smoking a joint
Yeah.
right after me,
Yeah.
like we're buddies just because we all smoke pot. Well, like knowing that outside of that situation, you wouldn't even be talking to these folks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just because you have a commonality, like if you're all motorcycle riders, because I used to ride, and it's like,
Hmm.
everybody's like, oh, hey, like you're riding down the road. You've got a Harley, I got a Harley, blah, and all
Yeah.
this stuff, so you think you have that in common and that you're gonna be best friends because there's so many good people. And there are a lot of good
Mhm.
people who ride motorcycles. I mean, like they're some
Oh
of the
yeah.
most giving, compassionate people on this
Mhm.
planet. They do so many things to help, children especially, and all these
Right.
different causes. They're amazing. But just because
Mhm.
someone has a Harley, for instance, and you do too, doesn't mean y'all are destined to be fast friends for the rest of, bosom buddies for the rest of your lives. That's
Right.
not how that
Right.
goes. So just be mindful when you're in a relationship or you're starting these relationships, because we get so hungry, especially at the beginning of our journeys. And I'm sure you felt the same way. Oh, you like
Mhm.
you read cards? Oh my God, let's go have lunch and talk
Yeah.
about this stuff. And you want to like, you're so excited and you're so hungry for every bit of knowledge that you can get, that we forget that we have to be mindful of the energy exchange, because it's not always the best
Yes.
energy exchange. So we've got to be
Hmm.
really mindful of that, especially at the beginning of our journeys, because we can get into some bad situations real fast
Hmm.
with people that have
Yeah.
nefarious intentions, you know?
That's right. Yep. Yep. I agree.
So that's
Yeah.
one of the things I
Can't help but
really
like.
wanted to put out there. I know it kind of goes with what we're talking about, the clairs, because you have to
Mhm.
allow yourself to use your senses, all of the clairs and all of your just intuition, and
Mhm.
believe yourself when you get those messages, to believe yourself. I think that's really one of the most important.
Yes.
Don't try to
Trust it.
put it
Yeah.
away.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Have
Yep.
you
You have
had
to
any
trust that
experience?
intuition.
Yes. Have you had any
Have I
experiences
had
like
this?
that too?
Um. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think if I'm sure I have. I can't think of one like specifically off the top of my head, but I think we probably all have, like you said, for example, maybe in school or something, you try out for a sport and oh, this girl is on the basketball team as well. And so you kind of start getting to know each other and well, maybe she's not such a nice person. So but I think probably everybody has at some point. Um well, actually, now that you say that, yeah, at times, trusting a coworker,
Mhm.
just because we have the same, bitches at work, complaints at work, doesn't necessarily mean that they're your friend and they won't, go tell everything that you say. So,
Right.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
you have to kind of pay attention to feelings that you get when you meet that person. And like you said, just try to be mindful of those feelings.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
And not everyone is your friend through your happiness, right? So that's one of the
Mhm.
things too, like as you grow your gifts and you start bringing things into your life that are more abundant, and by abundant, I don't mean necessarily just money, like friend abundance, time
Mhm.
abundance,
Right.
other types of abundance too, not just money. I mean, money is great too, but these
Mhm.
people who are like saying all these great things to your face. I had an experience like that when I was working in North Carolina. There was this girl and I had gotten with this guy. It ended up being a very toxic relationship at the end and everything, but in the beginning it was very good. And I thought she was my friend. And
Mhm.
I got done with my med pass one day and I brought my cart back up to the front, and she was standing there with her back to me, completely annihilating me for being happy and that I didn't deserve that. She'd been through far more shit than me and she deserved that, not me, you know? And
What?
yeah, and I was like just standing there going like I couldn't believe it
Oh,
because to my face she
oh
was
my
very happy and
gosh.
supportive of me. Yeah, so just know that sometimes you've got to be mindful of sharing your happiness so exuberantly with some people because they're going to support you to your face, but when you turn your back, they're not going to be.
Wow.
So, and here's my take on that, y'all. There is so much abundance in this life. There's so much. We do not have to live in a mindset of lack and competition, especially with our friends, especially with our
Yeah.
friends. Jessica and I both are mediums, right? If she has a different price point than I do on or she's offering a special and I'm not at that time, or I'm offering one and she's not, it doesn't matter. I'm going to support her. If you can save, some money by going to her and you resonate with her and you feel like she needs to be the one to give you that reading, then I want her to give you that reading because guess what? If someone's meant to come to me for their reading, there's nothing Jessica can do to stop that. She will
Right.
not be able to stop it. The same as if it's meant for someone to have her do a reading for them, I won't be able to stop it because it's meant for her. So there doesn't need to be a
Mhm.
sense of competition there. I love her. I love you, Jessica. And we've talked about this off
I
air.
love you, Dee.
No, I love you so much. And I want you to succeed. I want your happiness as
Yes.
much as I want my own. So
Yes.
anything that I can do to lift you up and help you in any kind of way like that, I'm here for it. Heart, mind, body, and
Absolutely.
soul, with every ounce of me,
Yes.
and that there's no
Yes,
competition.
yes.
Jessica and I
No,
are going to
not
be
at all. And I
together.
hope you know that same way too, I mean, I've cried tears of joy for you.
I know you have. It's
Because I'm like,
amazing.
you're going with me, you're taking off. Yeah, we're each other's
Yeah.
cheerleaders.
Yes. And we're going to be doing things together and separately. As a matter of fact, this episode is going to drop before February 6th. And on February 6th, Jessica and I are going to be doing an evening of mediumship. We have 15 spots open. I think 10 of those left because we
Okay.
posted in the group first. We always give the people in the group. So if you're not in our group, the link is going to be in the description box below this video. Come jump in there because we tell you all about the deals and the opportunities first before we post it anywhere else. So you get first dibs to be in on all the yummy goodies that we put out there. So yeah,
Yeah,
we are
the
going to be doing
spiritually
that.
speaking group on Facebook.
Yep, spiritually speaking group. Yep. And I'm going to put that link in. February 6th, mediumship evening with Jessica and myself. That's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I will put the email for this podcast in the description box below this video as well. So I'm not a tech person, so I'm still working on how to get all this stuff ironed out. If you are interested in the night of mediumship, it's $45 a person. Email us at that email address in the description box below this video. It's eeospodcast@gmail.com. And I will get the information to you so that you can join us for that because that's going to be pretty awesome. That's going to be our first live event together. So we're very excited about that.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Very cool.
Can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do tarot card pools and stuff like that in the group as well. Share our stories. If you have any questions about anything, you can get in there. We do have a group chat through Facebook Messenger that you can join as well and ask questions through there if you want to, or you can always DM Jessica or myself directly if you have a specific question for either one of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have anything else to add, Jess? You look so pretty today.
Oh, thanks. I don't think so. No, we covered quite a bit.
Yeah, we did.
That was cool. Little info podcast on the Clairs and trusting that intuition when it comes to relationships and meeting people, and good
Absolutely.
job, Dee.
Good job, you. And if y'all have
Thanks.
any questions that or any topics that you want us to cover on the podcast, please just drop us a comment or email us or whatever, get a hold of us somehow, and we'll get that addressed for you. As always, please like, share, and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our wonderful content. And we hope to see you in the group. That'll be really awesome, huh, Jess?
Absolutely. Come see us.
Yeah. And we're gonna be doing part 2 of the Dream series with Stephen Harefield coming up here soon too. So be looking out for that.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, everybody. As always, I love you all.